Who knows if Travis Kelce plays next year? This might be a fitting retirement. He's getting married to Taylor Swift. Does he rev it up to go one more year when Mahomes come back off ACL? So this could be the last we see Travis Kelce.
And now NFL IQ with Cynthia Frelund and Logan Ryan.
Welcome to Week 16. We are at Week 16, Logan. I can't even believe it. It's NFL IQ. We've gone 16 weeks. Holy smokes, the regular season is coming to an end. I can't even believe it. Remember to subscribe, like, follow, comment, all of the things. How are you, my dear friend, Logan Ryan, multiple Super Bowl winner, about to be an Emmy-winning broadcaster, all the things.
Speak into existence, please, Cynthia. I'm great. I'm pumped up. I feel like football season, like this is like when I wake up for football season. All the early season stuff's done. Now it's time for playoff positioning, great matchups, and this upcoming week that we're gonna break down has even better matchups. And this is a time of year when you're a real football fan. This is that time of year when you watch different sports. Baseball has to get to mid-playoffs for me to turn it on. Basketball has to get to the NBA Finals for me to even turn the game on. We watch football all year, but this is the time you got to really crank that volume up because it's starting to heat up.
Well, I mean, I think if you would have told us this 17 weeks ago that Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs would not be in the playoff hunt and that it would happen this early, I think we would have been like, not a chance, you're crazy, whatever. So let's just break down this Chiefs team because we're not going to have a chance to do it anymore. What should they be focused on now? I actually think it's perhaps a slight advantage long-term thinking-wise. If they were going to be out of the playoffs, better to find out right now, get better draft positioning, get kind of their ducks in a row, figure that all out now ahead of going into the postseason. So you're not adding, I mean, they played, since Patrick Mahomes has been there, they played an extra season of postseason games, which as a former Patriot, you know what that's like. That's a lot more wear and tear on the body. So perhaps a silver lining to this. We're going to make our assumptions here that Patrick Mahomes will be ready to go ahead of next season, just because I don't think it's fair to, assume that he won't be right now. We're going to build with a Patrick Mahomes is coming back week 1. Like that's our assumption. So what do you think this Chiefs team needs to focus on now that basically the postseason is here? No sliding Gardner Minshew, but they're already into next year mode.
Well, first off, I got to start by just shouting out Patrick Mahomes. I understand he tore the ACL. Any other injury, that man would have played through it. I mean, if he could physically play and there's a chance, I've seen him play through high ankle sprains. I've played against him. And his snap-to-snap mentality, if he's losing a game, if he throws an interception, if he has a bad play to the next play, there's always that fear when you play him of him knowing that he is good enough to win the game in the end. Like his belief, if I can train my kids on the belief to have in yourself, Patrick Mahomes is the ultimate competitor. I just put a video up on my Instagram recently of I fortunately picked off Manning, Brady, and Aaron Rodgers in my career. So those are like the three, in my
Pretty good
opinion.
names.
Right. Those are three like goats of my era, right? Obviously Drew Brees needs to be in there as well. I didn't pick off Drew Brees, but those three that I played against were the three best. Well, I had Thanos for the Marvel fans collecting the Infinity Stones. I did a video of me like collecting quarterbacks like Infinity Stones. Well, if I was Thanos and I collected Infinity Stones for my gauntlet, then Mahomes, who needs to be up there, he's the one that chopped my head off. Okay, he's the one where I'm resting, and he came back and chopped my head off because I couldn't get Mahomes. Mahomes threw touchdowns over my head, beat me in a Super Bowl. Ultimate competitor. Shout out to him. Absolutely love playing. He'll go down in a GOAT conversation. Now he needs to rest. He needs to rest. This season was not for them. It was not for the football gods that had it for the Chiefs this year. I think this was the final blow, obviously, to their season. In the future, I talked about this last week, how Kansas City gets away with not paying a lot of players because they have Mahomes, they have Andy Reid. That is going to have to change. They got to pay to have better players around him. They need to have no shade on what they have, but Travis Kelce was their best player outside of Patrick Mahomes. He's obviously in the later years of his career. Who knows if Travis Kelce plays next year? This might be a fitting retirement. He's getting married to Taylor Swift. what better way to go out for Travis Kelce in his career than say, "Hey, man, enough's enough. The season's over." Does he rev it up to go one more year when Mahomes come back off ACL? So this could be the last we see Travis Kelce. They got to get Patrick Mahomes smart, legitimate playmakers that stay healthy and catch the ball. Rashee Rice is a great player. He's hurt. The other receivers do not catch the ball consistently. So they need to have that safety blanket. He needs to have his Gronkowski. He needs to have his Kittle. He needs to have his next Kelce. He needs to find a tight end or a pass catcher that stays healthy, can move the sticks. Obviously, the offensive line probably needs adjustment. That's when you get the Chiefs is because you beat them in the offensive line. That's how people have beat them in Super Bowls. The Bucks beat them like that. The Eagles beat them like that. They win up front. So clearly that's always something when you have that quarterback. But I believe in a dynamic running back. I believe in someone that can catch the ball. I believe in someone that can run the ball. So if that's the best college running back, if that's someone out of college that is just tremendous, find that Bijan Robinson, that Christian McCaffrey. I know they don't come out every year. Find that Jahmyr Gibbs, but draft that early round talent running back that can truly take the load. Because when Mahomes does come back, and I believe he will, you will talk about it. You can come back from ACLs. That is no big deal anymore for athletes. His game might have to change for a little bit, though, right? I don't know if he can run as much as he runs and wiggle how he wiggles and run the white line how he does coming back from an ACL. So he needs to find a new way to play or a little bit adjust his game as he gets older, just like Brady did. So I obviously defensively they got to do some things, but just offensively they got to replace Travis Kelce as well. I think that's the first place they start.
So you talk about, the parallel with Brady. In fact, it's so wild because ninth season, ACL season, eighth season had just lost in a Super Bowl, which is wild. And we know Brady came back and had a lot of success later. Now, Brady was never the rusher or the type of runner that, this. No shade to Brady, right? But
Not at all.
he's
Yep.
not the explosive runner that Patrick Mahomes
Oh
is.
yeah.
So I think shoring up the O-line absolutely needs to be the focus. I think paying Trent McDuffie, I'm with you because corners don't grow on trees. He wasn't playing in this past game. You saw a difference in the defense and figuring out how to get that push up front. You have a great defensive coordinator. Like the blitz didn't really work sometimes, like usually the pattern for a Steve Spagnuolo led defense is September looks different. And every single month after that, you get this up into the right trajectory where things get better and better and better and more efficient. And we have not consistently seen that this season. I don't know exactly how, what's going to be available to them if they're going to choose. I just started my draft work right now, but they're going to be picking higher than they've picked in any season in the past 9. So it's going to be, obviously without shifting things around and trading, but their natural pick will be higher than it's been in quite some time. So
And
they're going to have
32.
to make some decisions. And and the other thing, they will be playing a likely third place schedule next season. Well,
Mhm.
that's wild because sometimes the schedule making gods see NFC West, they help you out there with a little bit easier schedule. So I'm looking at that and then thinking about how they really structure their defense to complement the offense. This assumes that they get the pass catcher that you're talking about that can stay healthy, but figuring out where to pay and not pay, I think a lot of that has to do with the defense, which sounds a little bit crazy, but I think that's where because I do think you could potentially get maybe, I think the Jets totally eroded the value for a trade of Breece Hall. So he's maybe going to be on the market in a capacity where they could get him after the season. That could be interesting. But the fact that they eroded his value means other running backs are likely going to see a decrease in this running back market again in free agency. So perhaps that's one way that they approach this because you got to get the sum of the parts. It can't just be sell out for one. It's all of the different parts together have to fit and make sense.
It does, and I can't tell you enough. Like when they had Tyreek Hill, it's a different level of explosion. It's pretty much not comping Tyreek Hill to Randy Moss, but it was when Brady had Randy Moss of what you had to conceptually defend.
Mhm.
It was a whole third level layer of the field, right? And since they didn't have him, obviously they changed their offense to be a little more possession, a little more catch and run. But what he has with Travis Kelce, he's his first and last read. Like when I played against the Chiefs on the Patriots or Mike Vrabel, Tennessee, we played the Chiefs well quite often. We had so many rules just for Travis Kelce, not because he's so freaking good, which he is, but he is so important to where Pat looks. So with Travis Kelce potentially retiring, I'm telling you, it's like Brady without his Gronk. It's Brady without his Edelman. It's not that Travis Kelce is the best tight end right now, like Brock Bowers is. It's that Pat trusts nobody more in the world than this guy. So how do you replace that? And it's finding those players. That's going to take, I'm not saying it's going to take years, but it's going to take months and weeks and maybe seasons to find the next era. Because one thing Brady did, when you compare the dynasties, the Chiefs dynasty is over, right? We could say it's a reset. It's over this era. Brady had two separate dynasties 10 years apart. So he did it with Mike Vrabel. Mike Vrabel ended up being my coach, and Brady did it with me. When Brady won his first Super Bowl, I was 9, 10 years old. So he went 10 years in between Super Bowls, 10 seasons. So if Mahomes' last season or last Super Bowl was it 2 seasons ago? Can you imagine waiting another 8 before he gets another one? That is like the length of greatness and longevity that Tom Brady has. He has to do it. Devin McCourty said it. Mahomes is going to have to do his next run with high schoolers. These kids in high school, right? His next Travis Kelce might be in high school. You know how long you have to stay good and healthy and relevant and ready for it? You're not just going to run it back every single year. Oh, off the ACL, we'll go back to the Super Bowl next year. It's going to take time with a whole new cast of characters. Without Tyreek Hill, without Travis Kelce, without Chris Jones, he's got to do it with his next wave of dynasty type players. And that is why it's so hard and why us players say Tom Brady's the GOAT. It's like LeBron with Jordan-like numbers. It's the dominance of Jordan, but the longevity of LeBron. And that is just so hard, obviously, one of one to do. And that, in my opinion, is what Tom Brady's career was like. Two separate dynasties.
What were the rules against Travis Kelce? Like, if you can make them simple for us, like, look at it, like, what were what was that? I'm so fascinated by that.
Okay, so a rule would be whenever he comes out the huddle, we all have to point or say where he's at. And that's just to be mindful of where he's at. Oh, 87's over there to the right. 87's over there. So we all look to see where Travis Kelce is. There's certain zones, right? You play zone and you're the hook defender, which is by the hash mark. You're the curl flat defender. You're the deep third. Well, Travis Kelce, he doesn't run his routes like everyone runs his routes. He runs his routes to go get open in zones. So if he's supposed to run a curl and I'm sitting in the curl, he's not going to run a curl. He's going to make that an out route. Everyone else in the league just runs the curl. But Andy Reid designs an offense. Mahomes waits and understands that Travis is going to get open in the end. He's truly playing pickup. So we would match Travis Kelce in our zone. If I'm the hook and Travis Kelce runs through the hook, just follow Travis Kelce. We'll vacate the hook to go follow him. And a big one was if he lines up in line, meaning he's anywhere near the tackle, anywhere near our defensive end, our defensive end is not going to rush, right? Chandler Jones, you're not going to go for a sack. You're going to hit Travis Kelce and then go rush. We know how the top pass rushers, they get chipped in protection. The tight end has to hit them before they run their route. We have to chip Travis Kelce before we rush the passer. Opposite, right? And a lot of pass rushers don't want to do that because they get paid to get sacked. So when I was on the 49ers, I talked to Kyle Shanahan. I said, yo, we call it hammer. We got to hammer Travis Kelce. Like, that's the Belichick game plan. He's like, I know, but Nick Bosa's not doing that. And I'm like, I know, but like, and he's like, on the other side, yeah, but Nick Bosa makes too much money not to rush. And I get the push-pull. I get the push-pull. Like, yo, Bosa's got to rush, bro. We can't not rush Bosa. But if we don't hit Travis Kelce, he's going to catch it before Bosa gets there. So that's the push-pull. New England was different rules than San Fran. And I get it both. We didn't have a Nick Bosa on New England. That's not how we didn't have a rusher.
Right.
Even though I think Chandler Jones is freaking pretty good. But we didn't have like a rusher and when we played the Chiefs that was like to that level. So, but that is like he dictates your rules because regardless, Pat's going to him. Like 50, 60, 70% of their pass plays. If Travis Kelce doesn't catch it, he's still the main target on the play.
Do you think that as Travis Kelce has gotten not as young, gotten older? I just don't want to say because it feels like
First of all, Travis Kelce came in when I came in, and I'm on TV, and he's still playing. Second of all, Travis Kelce's older than me. He did an extra year in college. He was suspended in college. Crazy story, which we all heard. So he's even old. He's like 35, 36. So the fact he's still doing what he's doing, he's like a tight end savant. I mean, he completely changed the rules of of route running and what he's allowed to do. It's like watching Steph Curry go when he starts pulling up as far like he changed the way route runners, in my opinion, like free up and like what they're allowed to do, especially tight ends. So he like recreated his own rules. And it's a lot to deal with, and there's a reason why he's so good. And it doesn't have to do with speed or size. It's all his brain. He's very, very smart out there.
So do you think as he's getting older that it's easier to face him? Or do you think just because they keep changing the rules that he's still like a menace and it's still good? Like, so if he comes back next year, will it still be this like, is it 75% of what you had to face? Or is it like still 100% just different rules?
Yeah, it's definitely not, anybody's like he's still gonna have the mind and he's still gonna have the quickness, but he's not gonna be able to create the separation he did obviously when he was younger. He's not gonna be able to run away from guys after he catches it, right? He's gonna become a catch and fall or catch and get a yard. He's not gonna be able to break 50-yard catch and run touchdowns, right? But he can still be effective in the red area. He can still be effective on third down. They have to free him up, like they have to motion him and stuff to get him off of press coverage because he's easier to cover in man to man than he used to be. So now you might have to dictate your number one safety to cover him. Might not need Derwin to cover him. The other safety might be able to cover him, which allows Derwin to do other things. Like I always say, it's about manipulating the numbers. If this receiver demands our number one corner, then this other receiver can go against the number two corner. Well, if that receiver doesn't demand a number one corner, then we can use the number one corner to do other things. We can cover you with our number two corner, and then we can lock this guy up with our number one corner, right? So if Travis Kelce is still going to be a very good player, but he might not demand or command the double teams, the chips, the hammers, the number one corner. Like we put James Bradbury in New York, who was our number one corner, on Kelce on third downs. So we took our number one corner to cover the tight end on third downs, right? And that is like not normal game plan stuff, but that's a Travis Kelce rule. So that's the type of stuff he was doing out there, dictating a lot of defense.
I'm always curious, like, as like, I like watching Brett Veach kind of figure out what they're gonna do next, right? Because it's a great problem to have. How do we pay these specific players and then keep it fresh and keep it going? And, like you said, during the first version of like I don't know if there'll be a second Mahomes version like
So
there was for Patrick or that there was for Tom Brady, but in this first dynasty era, you've seen them make some interesting decisions. Now, should they how to enter the second dynasty era or whatever's next, it'll be interesting to see if Travis Kelce doesn't come back, right? Will Rashee Rice plus who's gonna now dictate the James Bradbury coverage, on third down? So it's a lot to decide for a team that you have 15. So thank God you have 15. I think, there's a number of other teams that would love to have this problem because Patrick Mahomes is, a great problem to have. How do you best support him? So it will be interesting to see as we go through all the different versions and iterations of that, what ends up becoming of that. So now let's shift our focus now. We are giving Patrick Mahomes like the speediest of hope for the speediest of recoveries. We cannot wait to see him next season. LCL. We'll talk about my stat is going to be on ACL, so we'll put that on the table there for a second. But I want to talk about what's going on this season, what's going on this week. The NFC and AFC. Now that we have a situation where there's a chance that we know we don't have Patrick Mahomes already. They've been ruled out of the playoffs. We might have Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs, which is pretty bananas. And if you're looking at, top it's wild. It feels like this year more than ever, things are up in the air. Let's talk about some games this week that have some real consequences on the playoffs. None bigger than Thursday Night Football between the Seahawks and the Rams. It's the second version of this story. The first version, of course, out here in SoFi, where it was a last minute. I mean, there were tons of turnovers for Sam Darnold, and still it was up until the last possible second with a kick that managed to determine the outcome of that game. We saw the Seahawks look weird last week. We saw the Rams, unfortunately, they're going to be without Devontae Adams. What are you looking for in this matchup now that I've talked for 15 minutes?
Well, this is our NFL IQ Bowl. This is your Super Bowl team versus my Super Bowl team. This is your Seahawks versus my Rams. This is me saying, I don't care what your model talking about or what rapper they're named after. This is me knowing ball, that the Rams are the best team in the NFL right now,
Yep.
and, they're going at it, and this is vital, right? Divisions in the balance, potential top seedings in the balance, who's healthy, who's not, we gotta go. Other team doesn't care who's in, who's out. If you're a player and you've played this many weeks and Devontae Adams is out, cool. Puka's playing, cool. I played 15 weeks. I'm ready to cover Puka, like, the best of my ability, right? This is like everyone's established themselves. It is what it is. It's kinda nut crunching time. So, to me, I feel like we have a lot of internal, stakes on this one
We do.
and this game to see what you're talking about with your Seahawks.
I mean, I'm looking at the Seahawks, and so first off, the Rams. Let's talk about how the Lions, you've said this a million times. They want to take away the best thing on your offense. And the Rams defense certainly did that with Jahmyr Gibbs. They really locked him down. He was not a factor in this game. Now, Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jamison Williams, on the other hand. So the secondary is where you target this Rams. In general, we saw it from the 49ers. We've seen that formula. If you can buy enough time from these amazing pass rushers, and they have a ton of them, then you're able to connect deeper down the field. Now, we've seen that with Jackson Smith and Jigba and Sam Darnold this whole season long. But here's the question. If they're taking away the number one asset for the Seahawks offense, obviously that's Jackson Smith and Jigba. I don't think that's even a remote question. What is the trickle down effect of that? What are the Seahawks game plan to do? I'm gonna ask you from both sides. I mean, what do the Seahawks have to do?
I think the Seahawks have to be used to people trying to take away Jackson Smith and Jigba. Like, they have to know, oh, they're not coming out like, oh, wow, they might double Jackson Smith and Jigba, like the league's number one receiver. Like, they have to have plays. They have to people must have to try to do that all year and didn't do so well, or they had enough schemed plays to counter that, right? So to me, like, I'm absolutely not letting the best player beat me. That was like New England. Like, we will lose to the number 2 receiver getting 200 yards than letting the number 1 receiver get 100 yards. Like, we would do whatever there is to do. And knowing Sam Darnold, as great as he is and has played, pressure's been his, I guess. I mean, he's probably played really well against pressure. I can't sit there and say his stats aren't good. But to me, that's always the thing I'm thinking of with Sam Darnold. Bring pressure. Bring pressure, double Jackson Smith and Jigba. What's he going to do? That's what I would anticipate the Rams doing. The Rams don't do that a lot schematically, but that's would be the best effective game plan against the Seahawks. The Seahawks have a great running game. They have a great running back with Kenneth Walker. So I don't need to know their running numbers. I know I've tried to tackle Kenneth Walker, and he's a good running back. So they have good tight ends, good running back. You got to stay patient and run the ball. You got to stay patient and run the ball, because if you're able to stay patient and run the ball, that can eventually take the double team off of Jack Smith and Jigba. That can make the defense have to adjust, because coaches do not like to get the ball ran all over them. So even though studies have shown they go too high and they kind of allow the run game to happen nowadays, I still think coaches don't love that. So I think you got to run the ball, stay patient, and then try to take your shots you can.
All right, so switching it over to the other side. No Devontae Adams. We talked about how, especially in the red area, Devontae Adams has been providing this like scary problem for defenses that they clearly haven't been able to solve, considering how many touchdowns he has, considering how many of these. I mean, he's set an NFL record for sub 5-yard touchdown receptions already, and it's not the end of the season, but that does change. Now, we have seen Blake Corum and his explosiveness increase as these past few weeks have gone by. And of course, we like to say the Rams, like they it looks like they're running out of the same alignment. It looks like the same play, and then they'll do something different, right? So
Right.
what's the game plan if you're Seattle? How does Mike Macdonald like sit down and say, all right, here's the chess piece that we have to move. How do we figure out this Rams offense?
Well, it's pretty similar. I mean, they have to take away Puka Nacua. I think you're going to see, I don't want to spoil my stuff later, but you're going to see why Puka Nacua is the best receiver in the NFL. Because the creativity, they're much more creative. Jackson Smith and Jigba can play it all. I'll say that. He can play the slot. He can play any position. They'll move him around, but he can't do as much as Puka Nacua can. And you're going to see different ways that Sean McVay can get Puka Nacua open, with motions, with being a lead blocker, with having plays where he's a fake lead blocker, with throwing him screens. and he could take a now screen, which is just a turn and catch the ball, into a 14-yard gain or into a 16-yard gain on 3rd and 15. Like, the way that Puka Nacua can get open in all phases, it's the same way Jackson Smith and Jigba, route running wise, but Puka Nacua can do a lot more in the run game than he can. So I think it's going to be who can get who's number one receiver open and how. And I think Sean McVay is used to this. Last year he didn't have Devontae Adams. He had a year with just Puka Nacua trying to do it all, and they were pretty freaking good last year. The Rams were pretty good. They lost to the Eagles, but they played the Eagles better than anyone else last year in the playoffs. So to me, that's why I like them so much. Um, they are losing their ability to get touchdowns in the red zone every time, guaranteed. They're like +1 token guaranteed Devontae Adams touchdown every time in the red zone. And a big thing in these really big games when you're a defender is going to say, hey, they're going to drive the ball. Like, we played Atlanta Falcons in the Super Bowl 23 game. They were number one offense like all time or something. Matt Ryan was MVP. They had Julio Jones. Like, they were statistically the number one offense in the NFL by far. And the game plan was like, hey, we know they're going to drive the ball. We can't let them get touchdowns. Obviously, in the first down, they did. In the first half, they did. In the second half, we obviously stopped them. But you got to hold teams to field goals, right? And the Rams have such a good ability to always end up with touchdowns. That's because of Devontae Adams. So the Rams will still be able to move the ball. Can they still get touchdowns in the red zone without Devontae Adams? Without their play that works about 99% of the time that I'm seeing right now.
They're tush push,
So
in terms
yeah,
of
they're a tush push.
accuracy.
Yeah, without their tush push, can
Mhm.
they still get touchdowns? And that's gonna be a huge part. And I think that I would focus on red area defense so much if I'm Seattle this week, because I know Matthew Stafford might win MVP. I know he can drive the ball. I know Sean McVay is gonna call good plays. I know Puka Nacua is probably gonna go for over 100. Can we hold them to field goals in the red zone? That's what it's gonna be coming down from for the Rams offense and for Seattle's defense.
I mean, the use of tight ends is so interesting for me for the Rams offense because it feels like when the Devontae Adams trick doesn't work, then they have Colby Parkinson or whichever tight end, you name it. It doesn't necessarily need to be Parkinson, right? But this past game it was because the Lions, for all their, are just looking at the beginning of that game and what the game plan was. And perhaps the Rams were a bit overlooking the Lions. Who knows? Because the Seahawks game is so massive. But I don't necessarily think so because they think, Matthew Stafford and whatever. So I think, you're looking at what happened in the first half and then how did they get Puka Nacua open in the second half. And part of that was some tricks with the tight end position, especially in the red area. So that would be the way if I'm like a fantasy player figuring out, like what do I have to do here? Maybe the Colby Parkinson trick could be what you saw, like what you saw from him in that Lions game, especially to kind of break the thing open.
Yeah, and just like a brief, for our fans, a brief like insight of defending the Rams because I played, for the Niners, and that's I guess a big rival, but
Huge.
it's yeah, and Shanahan and McVay have similar offenses and whatnot. So practicing against it, they want to run the ball. The Rams want to run the ball. Puka Nacua, all those receivers are required to block. They are a running team, and Matthew Stafford will check to a run play every time you allow it. They have no problem running the ball. So they want to do that. They want to use the tight ends. They want to use the big people. They want to get Puka Nacua's 215. They want to get the Robert Woods. Remember how good of a blocker he was? Cooper Kupp, pretty good blocker. So all their receivers are bought in and they all run the ball, all 11, meaning all the receivers block. They just don't leave some guy. A lot of y'all favorite fantasy receivers is just left on the outside. And I go, hey, the run's going to the left because that receiver's to the right. They don't run to him. They don't want to get him rolled up on. They don't want his ankle to sprain. They don't want to get him dirty. He stays out there while the rest of the players play over here. That's how a lot of offenses operate with top receivers. The Rams, the Niners, some of these other offenses, they make them mix it up. So they bring their top receivers in the mix. And the Rams are like that. They want to run the ball. They want to run the ball. So you have to commit more bodies, more people to stop it. And then when you do that, they slip Puka Nacua out. Then when you do that, they slip the tight ends out because a lot of corners don't want to tackle. They want to sit out there with that pretty wide receiver, get good grades, good next gen stat grades, whatever you give them, Cynthia. They want to have the number one all pro grade, but they don't want to get their uniforms dirty. I get it. I was a dirty guy. I was mixing it up on the other side. And Puka Nakua and those guys, they bring you in, they make you get dirty, and they make that corner tackle. And if that corner who's in the box can't tackle, that's why you're seeing big games from James Cook, what the Bills are doing. You're seeing big games from Kyron Williams, what the Rams are doing. You're seeing big games from Etienne, what the Jags are doing. All same offense, making these corners have to get involved and tackle. And a lot of times you don't see $30 million corners get paid to tackle. So I get it why they don't want to tackle. Dion was not wrong. You don't get paid a lot of money to tackle. You get paid to cover, and it makes sense, but you also don't win a lot of championships by not tackling.
I love that. By the way, PFF, I don't grade like PFF, and I don't grade like Next Gen Stats. Just,
What
put
is your
that out there.
Oh, I gotta plug yours. What is your
I mean, I haven't really like named it, but I always say my model, my model does not grade like that. And I ask humans
good.
for input too,
I
because
don't wanna
I
take
wasn't
a
calling
shot
the
at you
plays,
on
nor do
some of
I
your
know anywhere near as much. You've forgotten more in like 10 minutes about football than I'll ever know, but I'm smart enough to know who to ask. That's where
yeah.
I'm just
I didn't
smart
say
enough to ask. Like phone a
okay,
friend is
good,
like
good.
my best way of coding. I just try to do it as blindly and as heartlessly as possible. Off topic question though that I thought of while you were talking about the Niners. Do you think this is why Brandon Ayuk isn't playing? Because he doesn't want to block?
No,
Like,
Brandon Ayuk blocks. He
I
blocks.
know, but
He
like
blocks
maybe he didn't want
downfield.
to anymore.
I cannot speak, nor would I speak on what he wants. I don't know what he wants.
Yeah.
Um, he knows what he wants, but he did not tell me what he wants, and from afar, I cannot understand what they want. It doesn't really make sense. A lot of money not being made right now. So some stuff must have happened when I wasn't there. But when I was there, he was blocking his butt off. It's
I know.
part of the reason
That's
why he got paid. He's a great blocker.
exactly. That's why I was curious. Anyways, that just made me think of it because you mentioned those offenses. Again, just for kind of reference for anyone who's not familiar, Brandon Ayuk, he's on the left the team list. I think that's the designation of it. Like left the team, not getting paid money this year, that a large sum of money that was negotiated ahead of the season. And that I can't really imagine a scenario where he comes back to the Niners in any capacity. So kind of severing ties with the Niners and looking towards next season. So not sure about that, but that's what's been going on with Brandon Ayuk. But moving on to another NFC game that has pretty big implications, and another theme we are talking about in this, an ACL tear. No Micah Parsons in this Packers
Yeah.
Bears rematch from 2 weeks ago. Okay, what do we got here? Because I mean, that was a lot of points that they put up against that Denver offense or Denver defense, excuse me. And it took, I mean, I wasn't expecting, I don't know, there was like 70 points in that game. Like I wasn't expecting this kind of output. It was in the 60s, like a crazy number from them. Who wins this game? What are you looking for? Obviously, you know, this is the number one team in terms of interceptions for the Bears. What do we got in store for us?
Well, man, Micah's their closer. He's their closer, and Jeff Hafley's going to have to get in his bag, which I have full confidence in my guy Jeff Hafley. I don't think the Packers are done by any means, because they're coached so well and they have good players. But Micah was this team's closer. So that's a huge. When you can't tap your Mariano Rivera to come in and close the game out, you got to do it a different way. So all hands on deck there when you lose a superstar player like that. I've been on the Patriots and we lost Gronk. Was like, yo, we don't lose when Gronk plays. Like, I literally think we're undefeated when Gronk plays. And we had to find ways to win without Gronk, and it had to look differently. But there was definitely that feeling of like, yo, when Gronk plays, we win every time. And I think that's the effect that Micah kind of has in that locker room. And they've been a good team without Micah previously, right? But he was obviously that like cherry on the top this year for them. And then look at the Bears. Well coached, continue to find ways. Um, it's going to come down to who can make whose quarterback more uncomfortable. And the Bears can pick the ball off. We always talk about Jordan Love's got to take care of the football, play from ahead, which they kind of got behind there at the end and they couldn't pull off the 2-minute drive. And that's hard against the number one defense. So this is a good we always say litmus test, but this is a good legitimacy test for the Bears, right? This is a good legit, because I think the Packers are legitimate. And I don't know, you're gonna have more numbers than me, but I kind of just like interested to see it. I could sell the heck out the game,
Mhm.
but they got to show up. Both these teams got to show up. The Bears got a huge, or the Packers got hit in the mouth huge with the Micah injury, so that can either truly emotionally drain your locker room or it can make you rally. And I think people gotta understand that they're not always gonna say that on TV today. They're gonna say, "Oh, well, Micah's gone, now what?" But I think you can rally sometimes in people's absences. So I think the Bears are in for a big test. I think it's a big test for the Bears.
I agree. The numbers I'm looking at in this game really have to do with you often in these division rivalries get a little bit of a bump having a weird change. And this is a weird change, especially when you play in such close proximity. Now they would have had more answers for Micah Parsons. Now they don't know. It's not like they're going to be like, hey, Rashawn Gary is just going to step in and take this entire role. So the reality is if they can keep the looks weird, and we've seen Caleb Williams for as well as he's played this season and as few sacks he's taken compared to last season, he doesn't have a great passer rating. He's just not taking sacks. It's not necessarily that he's dicing up defenses. So all they have to do is protect the deep play. Get at least the numbers say that the smartest path for the Packers defenses to just do the thing that they've been doing all season long, and that's not allow these big plays, explosive plays. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to get after Caleb Williams. I mean, you saw Myles Garrett got after Caleb Williams. It didn't really matter, but they had some deep plays to counteract that. On other times, it was home run or striking out. It wasn't anything in between. And now you have a team in the defense of the Packers where they don't allow those home runs. And so perhaps he'll get a few more completed passes. Perhaps we'll see shorter stuff working a little bit better. But the deep plays are really the factor in this one is what the numbers at least show.
Yeah, and I think, like, just in general, like, a lot of older veteran quarterbacks, like, say, Matt Stafford, we said, "Hey, they're willing to run the ball every time. They're willing to complete it to Puka Nacua, screens,
Yep.
move the chains." Like, Matt Stafford, they can operate that way. Younger quarterbacks, Caleb Williams still a younger quarterback, he needs the big play. He needs the excitement. He needs kind of that, like, make him operate short. Let him see how long he can do that. Let him see how committed he can get. You know? It's kinda like keep jabbing him. Keep jabbing him. Keep using your jab. Let's see what he does to it, right? And I think that is just a natural thing when you play a younger quarterback is like, let's see how long he can operate this offense. We're not gonna give him the big one. We give him the big one, that can lead to belief. That can give him 50 yards a pop. Make him take the small ones, right? And death by 1,000 cuts. And a lot of young guys just don't stick with that consistently. And that's a big growth step you need to take in the NFL. When you play some of these older guys, like when I had to play Breeze and Brady and Manning, oh my God, they will check down, nickel and dime you the entire game and slowly beat you by 50 points that way. So you had to then start sending blitzes, and we got to make them speed it up. It's too easy for him. I think you make Caleb Williams, make it easy for him. See how long he can stay patient. And that's knowing Jeff Hafley, I think that's kind of a game plan that he might come out there with.
If you had to put a range for where Jordan Love ranks in terms of quarterbacks in this league, where would you put Jordan Love?
To me, he's
Range. Doesn't need to be like
yeah, he's in the upper middle. He's not in my opinion, and that can probably get clipped and ran with. I don't really
no,
know.
no, no. I'm not
But
looking for clickbait because that's not it. I just mean like
yeah.
if you like to me, you talk about some of those other names with the nickel and diamond stuff. Like it feels like Jordan Love sometimes doesn't take the easier path. It feels like, and he has the same sort of. I mean, a Matt LaFleur offense is a Sean McVay offense. It is a San Francisco Niners offense. Like it's not a like it just to me that those he doesn't necessarily take those things that are higher probability as often as the offensive game plan might dictate. So I'm just curious.
Yeah, I'd I put it like this, like I play with Purdy, right? In this offense, similar. I love Purdy. And if you don't play with Purdy, you might not rank Purdy as an upper echelon quarterback or whatnot. But Purdy is he's not Matthew Stafford right now. He's not a Hall of Famer. Matthew Stafford's a Hall of Famer. Like
Of
he's
course.
probably the most unappreciated. Like playing against this dude, he is a dog since the Lions days. So people probably ain't gonna have Purdy ranked top 10 or top 5 or like right. And that's how I feel about Jordan Love. It's like, okay, he's not my top 5 or top 10, but if you play with him, the guys love him and you're gonna rally for him. It's the same way I feel about Purdy. Like you got to be around him to realize how good he is. That's probably how Jordan Love is, right? And I think he's solid. He's good. He can beat you, but I'm not thinking he can take the game over on me like a Matthew Stafford can or these Hall of Famers can. Even a Dak can. I hold Dak in high light. I always had, even when he was losing playoff games, you're like, oh, Dak's trash. I'm like, no, he's not. He literally does the whole game with the line of scrimmage. Like, playing against Dak, he is the key to that offense. And is Jordan Love doing that for them? Or is he handing the ball to Josh Jacobs? Or is he kind of having great play calls? He is, but I'm not around him enough to know what he's truly doing. So I would put him in that, middle echelon of good promising quarterbacks, but it's a different step from the other guys I'm talking about.
By the way, I think that's a compliment because if
Okay,
I'm
good.
looking at
Hey,
the fact
nowadays
that
that's dangerous. If you don't put someone in your top 10, then you're just a hater. I don't know.
no, see, think about it. Top 10, like, this is where I get mad about you talk about, like, people on TV talking head stuff, people who, you fall in the category, I somewhat fall in the category, whatever. So, I think that we have to remember that we're talking about the best of the best of the best. The fact that Phillip Rivers is back and playing starting quarterback, it doesn't mean there's even 32 people who could do this job. So, the fact that you're saying someone's in, like, between 10 and 16, that should be great. Like, not being in a top 10 is not some sort of cause for concern. Not everybody can be elite just by virtue of the fact that then elite means nothing, right? Like you really want to say like I don't know. I get angry about that because what's wrong with being 16 quarterback 16 in the National Football League? You get paid a crap ton of money and you win game like it's okay if not everyone's elite. I'm sorry,
Top
but
16 in the world, what you do, and people still hate you. That welcome to welcome to society. These guys, and it shows you with
drives
Phillip
me
Rivers
crazy.
how hard it is to do that job though. Like how hard it truly is to go out there that maybe only 20 guys, 25 guys can do it what we call adequately, right? There's 5 garbage starters. Oh my God, he's terrible. And they're top 30 in the world at your profession. I think like the 25th best lawyer in the world is not garbage. You know what I'm saying? So it's just kind of what we do in this crazy world sport. But you get used to it. And if it's not top 10, it's like you're not good or something. But I don't know. But Jordan Love is definitely good. I speak only from my experience and what I play with. My opinion is mine. And I know there's some people that sat on a desk for 20 years and claim to know football, but I'm just talking about the guys I played against, what the meetings were like, what it was like playing with them, and how I rank them in my head of who was difficult to play with and why. And it might be different than what their stats might have said or what this pundit might have said. I got that word in there. But I just kind of do it on based on Logan's own and players I've played with, some of them, I hold a little higher because I see what they do every single day, the day-to-day, that goes into it, and why a performance might not have been good. You didn't know he had a broken rib, but I'm not gonna tell you that, right? So, it's stuff like that, that are where I put my list together, I guess.
So to me, the way that okay, we'll get off this topic in a minute, but I make the assumption that at some point everyone's playing with a broken rib or someone's playing like Matthew Stafford played with a freaking broken shoulder. What's the thing called? Clavicle, right? Like, like his collarbone was broken. And long story short is I assume everyone is tough and what like let's just assume they're all amazing professionals at what they do because I do think that. I think for in large part you hear about it when they're not. So if I'm not hearing anything, I assume that they are. So I have nothing but good things to say about Jordan Love, the human being, or Jordan Love. But to say like he's quarterback 13, like that's not offensive in my opinion. It's because I'm looking at like what you can see from the outside and the ways that whatever. So my point is I think it's you're like you said, lawyer 13, not getting mad at you, be like, you're the 13th best lawyer in the world. Like it just I think it's offensive to the guys who are 1 or 2. Like I want to know when I say elite, I mean it. Like I don't want it's like when you tell everyone you love them, then what does it mean anything? I don't know.
Right,
You know?
right.
So that's kind of my I don't know, my I get angry about that because I think it's okay to rank things in a way that has logical as long as you're saying how you're doing it and where your flaws lie, I will never know. I've never played with these people. So I make these assumptions. This is what I'm operating off of and this is the ranking. Like it's there's no hatred. Like what do I care? Like I don't know. I assume everyone's pretty good. Pretty good humans.
And
So
ranking is for debate and ranking is for
right.
talk, right? And, "Oh, this is 7, he's 6 for me," and, like, it's like, bro, you're in that people used to ask me all the time, "Who's the toughest receiver you guarded?" I'm like, "Over 6'4", under 6'4".
Right.
Tyreek Hill's pretty tough, but Randy Moss is tough, but Larry Fitzgerald is 220, but this Deshaun Jackson's 170. I don't know who's harder, Deshaun
Right.
Jackson or Larry Fitz they're different. They're
Very different.
cut different. They're all number 1 dudes, though,
Right.
and they get it done differently. How am I gonna rank Deshaun Jackson versus Randy Moss versus Bob, you know what I'm saying? They're so different. So to me, it's like who can do the most, who's the most versatile, which makes it harder to defend
Yep.
because they do more things.
Yeah.
But Deshaun Jackson is as elite as this guy is at elite at what he needs to do to win. So to me, it's like always like saying like who's the best is just so it's like, bro, there's so many different
That's why
ways to
I
get
asked
it
for a
done.
range. I asked for a range. I just said, "Where do you
Yeah,
put him in a
yeah,
range?" I
you
don't need
did.
an exact number. I just wanna know just do ranges just because 'cause I'm curious about, if you're a defender, I always want the position of who are you scared of when you go up again, or not scared of, like, whose game are you like, "Oh, I see your game, sir, and I'm gonna have to plan for you differently." That's just always my curiosity because, it's like things you see from afar. I know I wouldn't wanna play X, or I know I'm more comfortable playing Y, right? Like, whatever it is, I don't know. Always just interested about that. Okay, so speaking of something else that's completely subjective, AFC. The picture, as we mentioned, is as blurry as it's been since we have, since we've seen Patrick Mahomes enter the league, right? So, okay, which AFC team, playoff potential, who would you not want to face right now or early in the playoffs at all?
I got a couple. First of all, I gotta start with my Patriots. Man. You know, you can't win every week. You cannot win
What
every week.
happened in the second half?
Josh Allen happened. I've said this. Matthew Stafford's probably gonna win MVP this year. Josh Allen's the best player in the National Football League, and Myles Garrett's the best player in the National Football League. And they might not win MVP, but from the players I've played against and with and am around and the rooms I'm in, those are the 2 best players at football. And I didn't mention Mahomes. Josh Allen is a different with the size, the speed. He's the best player in football, okay? Drake May still had better MVP odds at the moment. It's just, look, they played a team with a guy who's been there and he willed the other team to come back. And Drake May responded. The Patriots just dropped the game, right? They lost the game to a divisional team that's really good in the Bills. So to me, the Bills are up there because they got Josh Allen and they're figuring it out with this run game with James Cook. So I got the Bills, but the Patriots put up like 35 or 28 or something, 31 on the Bills too. So the Patriots are up there because they're still hard to beat.
Yep.
They're still hard to beat. And then Denver's up there. Those are my 3 teams. And there's a bunch of other AFC teams, obviously, too, or the Ravens and this and that, Texans, Jags. But to me, Denver looks pretty complete. The Bills have the best player on the planet, and the Patriots are still a hard team to beat. They got up big and they lost, but the Bills have done that before. I've seen the Bills lose comebacks before all the time. It's just, the Patriots didn't win 11 straight. Sorry, it happened, but they still were able to come out big and whatnot. And those 3 teams, I think, are all very solid on both sides of the ball.
So Josh Allen in the first half, his air yards per completion, it's like under 3, right? And then air yards per completion at the second half, almost 10. So I'm curious, like, what did the defense do differently? If you have I mean, just to allow deeper passes to connect, was it like because they don't have a number one and they don't really know, like, or what was going on there?
All right. So, first of all, anytime you're up big in a game, there's a natural, okay, the other team needs it more. You might be calling defense to protect the lead and time. Josh Allen's like, all right, like, I'm down 21 points. Time to go. A la 28-3 Super Bowl. Like, okay, it's time to go. So there is that desperation on the other side. There is that, I got to throw the ball deeper down the field. I got to start creating more. And it's like, hey, 2 out of every 3 plays, Josh has to touch the ball now. First half, we want to run the ball. We want to get Shakir involved. Okay, now it's Josh Allen time. Same thing the Chiefs do all the time. Okay, now it's Mahomes time, right? Give him the ball, get out the way. He'll figure it out. And then sometimes that happens, right? And just because you're playing defense where the score's not 0-0, you're playing knowing you're up 21, knowing you're up 25, and you can train a team. And you can tell a team, hey, it's 0-0, come out of half. It's like, no, it's not. We're up 21 points. What are you talking about? Why would we play like it's 0-0? But the guy on the other side is so freaking good. Once he scores once, he's believing, he's going. And Josh Allen is that Hall of Fame type. He is better than Jordan Love type of quarterback that's like, oh, once you give that man an inch, it's a wrap. And that's pretty much what happened, in my opinion. I can't say I watched every play to know the defensive scheme changes, but I know playing defense with the lead, you're protecting time and score. And that guy is counted out. And some guys, when they get down, they end up like with a Kobe Bryant in them where they score 40 unanswered or something. It just kind of happens.
Yeah. I mean, I just thought that was interesting too. So I'm with you. I think the Bills, I like all of your teams. I think that the Texans have something in them too, because the
Yeah.
Texans, like the Broncos, I'm watching a team where the defense leads the day and the offense is finally starting to catch up. I'm seeing CJ Stroud start to connect. Nico Collins and CJ Stroud, that connection feels like it's back. It was gone for a while. It feels like it's back now. The question mark for the Texans for me will be consistency in the run game, because with they keep getting hurt, and, that just makes things very difficult because their O-line, I would say, they went from one of the very worst O-lines in the entire league to like they're in the 20s, which is great. It's enough. It doesn't need to be one, but and they're in the low 20s now, and that's
Hey,
okay. But
20th
for
20th best in the world, right? You're not
20th
trash. You're
best in the
20th
world.
best O-line in the world.
Right? Exactly. But point being is, that they got it up just enough to perform like average, which means CJ Stroud is then able to shine, especially with
Yeah.
the defense. Football is being complementary. Like there's no one thing that beats everybody, right? Like you just have to play complementary football no matter what. Everyone always talks about it, but it is very true. So as long as they can keep the run game like scary enough that the O-line can be good enough, then the passing game could be good enough, then the defense could win the game. So I still think the Texans win the division. I still think, there's a way to go there. Jags are obviously fun. Trevor Lawrence throwing
Mm,
for like a ridiculous 6 touchdown, or being
he
responsible for
woke up.
he
Let's get
woke
to the
up.
Jags. Let's get to the Jags. He woke up. We were talking about Trevor Lawrence, right? Oh, he's up and down, right? And he woke up. He woke up, and now look at him because they got that coach, Liam Cohen, like we've been talking about. Now with the quarterback waking up, him playing a good game, we said, imagine if Trevor Lawrence was firing. Imagine if his wide receivers were catching the ball for him. What would it look like now? And that's what it looks like now. They look good.
He set a record. So you talk about taking the shorter things, that the what's taking what the defense gives you, whatever. That's what he did in this game. He set a next gen stats record for having a number of touchdowns. He had like, 2 to ETN and 1 to Bashal Tutin as receivers behind the line of scrimmage. Like for aligned in the backfield, excuse me, aligned in the backfield, which means they're doing things to get easier wins. When the Brian Thomas Jr. connection did work, but it hasn't been a consistent deep ball game for them this season. So they're like, well, heck, let's just figure it out then. We'll change things around, and we're going to throw the guys aligned in the backfield. And that's where you're talking about with those, be the quarterback that takes what you're given, and not have to like try to win it with an over the top crazy touchdown. So
Right.
you're right. They're scary too. I just think the Texans defense is like this much scarier.
Well, some of the plays were designed like they're in the backfield, but they ran wheel routes, they ran
Exactly.
scheme plays, and we talk about football being a 12-on-12 sports with the coaches involved calling against each other. Liam Cohen, he needs to be like in the bag award because he was in his bag calling those plays, wide open touchdowns to the running backs and whatnot because he knew exactly what the defense was going to be in based on tendencies. They've practiced those plays all week. They're wide open in the week because when you're on scout team in the NFL, you're not allowed to get people hurt or you lose your job. So they're wide. Every play looks like a touchdown in practice on Friday. That's what it looked like on Sunday. Wide open, just how they thought. And Liam Cohen was like, I knew they were going to be in that. So that man, he's a top 5 play caller. I'll put him in my top 5. He's in there with my McVay, my Andy Reid, my Shanahan. I'm throwing him in that tier of play calling because when I watch him call games, it's like, nah, the players are messing it up. That play should have worked. Nah, quarterback messed that up. Receiver dropped it. Nah, they were catching it and throwing it that game, and it looked really good.
They got a defensive coordinator fired. Pretty good. But maybe the thing that we were all wrong about was that the pronunciation of Duval is actually Duval.
There
So
you
maybe we
go.
need to change it. That's kind of what I learned
They
from
were
this
playing
too.
the Jets too. And why'd they get my man fired, when they literally traded their 2 best defensive players?
I'm
Wilkes.
not suggesting
Wilk
that I would
Wilkes
have
got
fired him.
fired, and they trade away Sauce Gardner and Quentin Williams. What you want him to do? Like, this is
Get
why
out
this
there
is
and play himself.
yeah, like, you want him out there, like, you trade away my 2 best players, and then you fire me before the season ends, like, a shout out to Steve Wilkes, man. He
I would
coached me
love
in
Steve
in
Wilkes.
San Fran.
I am a massive Steve Wilkes fan. He's a wonderful man. He's been given the raw end of so many deals, like from Carolina to whatever. But that just means he's getting all the bad karma out, and the next time will be the winner. That's just what I think. But I'm cheering for him. He's a good dude. I don't think anyone's looking at this thing being like, "Hey, you know whose fault it was? Steve Wilkes." So I'm not sure why that happened, but whatever. I'm only here to report the facts, and the facts is that he was quote unquote relieved of his duties. The question I want to know from you is, what did we see from Phillip Rivers?
Yo, it's like riding a bike, right? It's like riding he can still play ball a little bit. Obviously, he looked a little rusty at times. You saw the shot putting. I'm like, he's been throwing like that. Don't be surprised by that. But these Hall of Fame quarterbacks, they come off the couch and play. Not like they're gonna sit there and play a full season or make it, but I know Flacco came off the couch, won comeback play of the year. That's not 5 years off like Phillip Rivers, 4 years and 355 days before the insurance, whatever it was. He got in there before the 5-year mark, but he can still process a defense and throw the ball where he wants, and that's what he did. And I thought I had a lot of people on TV talking about, "This is crazy. He's gonna get hurt. He's not gonna last. He's gonna get his head knocked off." And they had a shot playing against the Seahawks with this guy being on the couch for 4.5 years. So shout out to Phillip Rivers. I knew he could. I didn't know how long he could still play ball, but I know those quarterbacks, it's like riding a bike for them.
I feel like we both sort of thought it would. I don't think either of us were like super surprised that it looked. I'm going to say the word okay. Like it didn't look like I didn't watch him and be like, "Whoa, Phillip Rivers still has his fastball." But I was like, "All right, he knows the concepts and they're able to communicate, and the chemistry is like the communication. I mean, obviously, handing the ball to Jonathan Taylor a million times is a very good thing. Like not everyone has the opportunity to do that, but it's I don't know. I was kind of happy to see. I loved his presser after. Like I love what it means to him. God forbid people actually give a crap about something in like their career, like all the stuff. But I don't think that the Colts are Super Bowl bound. I don't think that their hot start can be convinced. But we have to give credit where credit's due. I mean, Lou Anarumo and this defense held the Seahawks to 18 points. That's crazy. So it was the number 2 offense and the number 2 defense. I think that Phillip Rivers showed he still got enough of the stuff to like be able to read some of the best that there is right now. So I just thought it was fun to see, and I don't know. I hope he doesn't get hurt
So
this next
yeah, he
time.
can still drive the car, you know what I'm saying? He don't have to drive the Lambo, you don't have to drive nothing too crazy. You're right, he's gotta turn and hand the ball to Jonathan Taylor, but still gotta know which way to turn. You still gotta check it away from the blitz, and that's what he can still do, and they're just asking him to come out here, get us in the right checks, find the open receivers, we'll hand it off 40 times, we'll throw the ball short, but we can still take that because quarterback's a mentality, it's a mental game. It's so much more NFL is so much more mental than people give it credit for, and we talk about it hopefully on this podcast being a mental NFL IQ podcast. When we get into the combine, you guys start talking about 40s and verticals and broad jumps. That's when I usually like turn my TV off because it has nothing to do with playing in December. And Phillip Rivers, I don't know what he would have did at the combine. He probably would have been undrafted if he had to go to the combine right now. Probably don't have starting quarterback attributes, but he's starting right now when the Colts need a quarterback to start, especially when you have combine freaks, quarterbacks that are on IR at the moment. So I showed you how much the combine really does matter.
Well, my goal this year will be to get you to like the combine because I think if you see it through my lens, you're gonna like it a little bit more. Not because I mean, look, everyone will we have to just accept that those numbers come in and people care and whatever. But the true value to me of the combine is sorting out the messy middle, right? The messy middle of like, who's the guy who's underrated? Who's the gem that we didn't know that's gonna turn into, I don't know. I mean, like uh,
Puka
Travion
Nacua,
Henderson
fifth
was
rounder. Who went to the combine, interviewed that kid, watched his tape, and said, "You know what? Imma pass on him 4 times." Everyone at the combine did. So I don't know if he was in that meeting, just no showing, but I guarantee if you watch his college film, he probably was running good routes and catching the ball and running through people. I don't know. I don't watch every receiver coming out, but I would love to see what he was at the combine because he's a pretty good receiver.
So my thing is this is where I get to most be a banker, which is where I came from, obviously, but where it's like who's the undervalued stock or who is getting because that's what happens with the stock market. Stocks get inflated based on like the momentum of the chatter, right? And I'm like, no, let's see who's having a really good draft based on like the actual fundamentals, which typically is their college film, right? Interviews do matter because personalities matter and fitting with
For
not
sure.
being a jerk matters.
Very
And
important.
I'm not privy to that. I do hear rumors, but I don't put rumors into my models. But that's to me my new goal is to get you like it. But one stat that I do want to bring up that is important for this week, and it's less of a finite number, but ACL injury returns. Okay. So here's the deal. If there is an injury that is season ending, but you want to have in terms of what you can come back from, for quarterbacks and for pass rushers like we saw this week, ACL, it might be the one you want. It's not an Achilles. Achilles is a very, very difficult injury to maintain your speed, your burst, your acceleration, all the things that both of the quarterback and the defensive end that we saw, they both rely on that.
Yeah.
ACLs, however, I don't know what it is, but over the past 10 seasons, as long as you're not in your late 30s or whatever, that's a little bit different. It has been almost no erosion in fatigue, in your ability to get burst, your ability, any of those things that you could potentially speak to. I don't know if it's because there's better technologies for the repair. I don't know if it's better ways of rehabbing after. I'm not a doctor. I just know that from the stats point of view, there's both the Chiefs and the Packers should be excited that they're going to get their guys back at full speed whenever they're done with their rehab.
I definitely think those players are gonna make full recoveries. ACLs for football players, like, I ain't gonna say it's a common cold, but like 1 out of every 3 football player I know is torn his ACL. It
Yep.
just happens, and you know what it is. I'll see in a year, and they go in that mode, and they gotta start bending that thing, and you see the rehab process. But, Saquon came off of ACL. It took a year or 2 later, best year of his career. I
Yep.
mean, I won Super Bowls with Brady, Gronk, Edelman, all had ACLs in their career. It is nowhere near the end of someone's career anymore. Like, it's just part of the process. It's almost like every other football player has it, and, you go to one of those doctors, you get it done, and then you come back. Now, the Achilles, obviously, people have been coming back quicker, right? We say Aaron Rodgers gave us a lot of insight with that documentary when he was going through the Achilles, and that has always been known as a kiss of death in my mind. Like, Achilles are more common now than they used to be. That used to be the kiss of death. Like, dang, the Achilles is over for him. And now players are coming back, and I don't really know how, like, that they're playing the best years of the career after, but ACL from college, high school, shoot, rookie year, guys tear the ACLs, they come back and it's not always easy. It's not always the next season, but they end up making full recoveries, still being great players, looking a lot like themselves. And it's a common one. I've every single year I've played with multiple teammates. It happens, and you're just knocking on wood because it's just part of the sport at this point.
It's getting better, but Achilles is harder. So that's at least the thing. Now, next week we're gonna have a story time. So I'm gonna preview it this week because we have a massive game between the Bucks and the Panthers this week. And I want to hear next week everything about playing in these divisional games. You actually played in that exact matchup. We do get it twice more. We also get it in week
Yeah.
18, which could be for all of the marbles, which is very, very fun. But I want to hear about that next week. But we need to get out of here with a prediction. We sucked last week. We were both wrong. The Cowboys, they lost. I said that they would win by 10, and you said the Bengals would win, and they
Yeah.
it did whatever. So we got to get back on track this week. You go first. I want to hear your prediction.
Well, I'm going to stick with the NFL IQ Bowl, which is our game, right? Seahawks Rams.
Yep.
And it's the trend of this episode. I have the Rams winning the game, and I have Puka Nakua going over 100 yards when everyone knows he's going to get the ball. Everyone knows Devontae Adams not there. He's still that good. I got him solidifying himself, not that he has to prove it, as the number 1 wide receiver in the NFL with Jackson Smith and Jigba on the other side. So I think there's a lot of stuff in the NFL IQ Bowl, which is the Rams Seahawks, but I have my Super Bowl favorites, the Rams, coming out on top with Puka Nakua showing he's the best wide receiver on the field.
All right, so I'm going to keep mine simple. I'm looking at this Eagles and Commanders matchup, and we saw the Eagles finally sort of return to form. But I think Devontae Smith was still on a milk carton somewhere. I don't know where he was in that matchup. We saw Dallas Goedert look good. We saw Saquon Barkley get in the end zone again. Commanders are kind of shutting it down for the season with Jaden Daniels, not bringing him. He's not coming back. So it's going to be Mark Mariota, who has done very well. But, they're already missing Zach Ertz. They're already missing all of these particular pieces. However, they just came back and had a nice game last week against the Giants. I think it's a closer game than expected, but I think we continue to see from the Eagles this offensive output look better, meaning I think Saquon hits the end zone again in a closer than expected win for the Eagles, but still a win, no less.
So, yeah, the Eagles being the Commanders is a big one right there from you?
That
Okay,
listen,
Saquon scoring, though. I gotta
they
go with
Eagles beat the Commanders and Saquon
okay.
scores.
Okay, you
I
can't go
just
too low hanging
no,
fruit.
but some I just want to be right.
Yeah, we gotta get right.
We can't be
We gotta get
wrong
right. You're right.
again.
We'll never put you wrong 2 weeks in a row. You
No, I
got it.
mean, but I think I'm curious about the Eagles because this is a team who I have no idea who they are. I don't know anything about their identity. I think they're Jekyll and Hyde. They're super dramatic as always, and I just want to know who the heck they are. And I think this is a game where we start to figure it out because in the NFC, to me, it's the winner of the NFC West to win the Super Bowl, and then the Eagles, and then now without Micah Parsons, I think that just like that diminishes the ability of anyone in the North to win. So I'm just like, who are the Eagles going to be someone to contend with, or is it going to be the NFC West winners, the Super Bowl? Like that's I just don't know what to expect from them. So I'm very confused by this team. I don't think I'm the only one. I think it's normal.
No, we all are. This that time of year to this that
Figure it
time
out.
where you can't hide much more.
Can't hide.
You gotta
Can't
show it.
hide.
Yep.
But thank you for hanging out, and I will see you again ahead of Week 17. My goodness, good thing we go through the playoffs because I couldn't stand it to be close to the end of hanging out with you every week, you know? And I'm
I
gonna
know.
make you like the combine now too, so I just signed us up for way more
St.
NFL
Elmo. Here we go.
Have a good week. And remember to sign up, like, follow all of the things. Follow us on our socials. You get to see, I have to make a plug here for my man's Instagram content because it is elite. The elite Instagram content is so good. And I know that it's stories only, but especially following your son, I'm here for all of it. So make
Yeah,
sure you follow
listen,
Logan on
content creating is stressful, man. I'm
It's
having
so
trouble
stressful.
keeping up, but
You
I'm
got it.
putting some content out, so check it out.
It's great. It's good stuff. All right. I'll see you back here next week.